That night, I thought I was just going out for a drive. Something simple. But I never imagined it would turn into the most surreal and unforgettable drive of my life. When the officer did what he did, I was stunned. But the strangest part? I didn't want him to stop. It all started because I needed to get out. There was no real reason to be on the road, except that sometimes the silence in my apartment felt too loud. The city had its own kind of beauty at night. Pavement shimmering under streetlights, neon signs flickering like they were breathing, distant sirens humming a lullaby. It was the kind of night that made you feel completely alone, in a way that was oddly comforting. And maybe that's what I wanted, to disappear for a little while. I kept the windows down, letting the cool air rush through, trying to shake off the weight that had been clinging to me all day. Work had been chaos. My boss dumped a pile of last-minute tasks on me. My inbox was a mess, and I hadn't even managed lunch. By the time I got home, I felt drained. But even lying in bed didn't help. I knew I'd just stare at the ceiling, trapped in my thoughts. The pressure of the week sat heavy on my chest. I needed space, so I grabbed my keys and left. I didn't have a destination. I never did on nights like this. These drives were about escaping, pretending even for just an hour that nothing was wrong. The radio murmured in the background. Something soft and slow, making the night feel even lonelier. I turned onto a quieter road, lined with trees and barely lit, save for the occasional street lamp. It was the kind of road you only drove if you knew it well. And I did. I'd taken it many times before, usually when I wanted to be alone with my thoughts. But that night I wasn't alone. The sudden flash of red and blue in my rearview mirror pulled me sharply from my head. My stomach dropped. My hands gripped the wheel tight. A cop. My mind scrambled. Had I done something wrong? I wasn't. Speeding. I hadn't missed a signal. Was a tail light out? I didn't know. All I knew was that whatever tension I had felt earlier, this was worse. I pulled over, heart pounding, fingers fumbling to turn down the radio. The patrol car rolled to a stop behind me. The door opened. A figure stepped out. I swallowed hard. He was tall, broad shoulders, the kind of presence that filled a space without saying a word. His uniform was crisp. His badge caught the light. Even in the dim glow, I could see the sharp lines of his jaw and eyes that didn't blink much, like he was already reading me. I rolled down the window as he approached, trying to keep my expression calm. "Evening, officer. License and registration," he said, low, steady.
No warmth.
Just authority. I nodded, quickly reaching for my wallet. My hands trembled just slightly. I wasn't sure why. Maybe the suddenness of it all. Or maybe it was the way he looked at me, like he already knew something I didn't. He took the documents, scanned them briefly, then looked back at me. The silence was thick, heavy. Then he said it. "Step out of the vehicle." A chill ran up my spine. Is something wrong, officer?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Step out of the car," he repeated, this time firmer. No room to argue. I hesitated only a second before opening the door and stepping out. The night air hit me, cool and sharp, but it didn't ease the tight knot in my stomach. He moved closer. His posture stayed firm, but his face gave away nothing. "Turn around." Hands on the car. I swallowed and did as told, palms flat on the metal, the surface cool beneath my skin. My heartbeat was thudding in my ears as he stepped behind me. "This is just a routine search," he said, softer now. I nodded, even though I knew he wasn't looking for a reply. His hands started at my shoulders, firm, controlled. Not rough. They moved down my arms, slow and methodical. And for some reason, I felt everything. Every point of contact. His hands traced down my back, my sides, then lower. I held my breath as they passed my waist, and kept going. Down my thighs. Then, his fingers brushed somewhere they shouldn't have. A sharp inhale escaped me. My whole body tensed. It wasn't harsh. It wasn't an accident. But it was deliberate. He didn't pull away, and neither did I. The silence between us grew heavy, charged with something I couldn't name. My pulse pounded in my chest, my skin warm where his touch had lingered. Then, just as suddenly, he stepped back. "You're clear," he said. His voice was lower now, calmer, but unreadable. Still, there was something in it, a flicker of something unspoken. I turned slowly. Our eyes met, and in that moment I saw it. The hint of something dangerous, something forbidden. I thought it was over, but it wasn't, not even close. The world outside was silent, the kind of quiet that makes every sound feel louder. My breathing, the hum of the streetlight, the rustle of leaves in the breeze. The road stretched out in both directions, empty, like the world had stopped, like it was just the two of us now. And I didn't know if that idea scared me or thrilled me. He still stood there a few feet away, watching, expression unreadable, hands resting on his belt, still every bit the officer. But something in his stance had shifted, a hesitation, reluctance. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I wanted to imagine it. I swallowed hard, gripping the edge of my car door, forcing my trembling fingers to stay still. But I could still feel the imprint of his touch like an echo, an invisible mark neither of us was willing to acknowledge. The silence between us was suffocating. Finally, I spoke, my voice cracking the stillness like a fault line splitting glass. "That wasn't really a routine search, was it?" His jaw tensed. For the first time, his eyes faltered, not much, just a flicker. But I caught it. It was gone just as fast, replaced by that same cold, unreadable expression. But I had seen it. I knew I had. "I was doing my job," he said, voice firm, measured. I tilted my head, studying him. "Your job?" I repeated, disbelief slipping into my voice. "Does your job include putting your hands where they don't belong?" A beat of silence. He exhaled through his nose, shifting slightly like he was suddenly uncomfortable in his own skin. "You're free to go," he said, sidestepping my question entirely. His tone was softer now, but it held something underneath. A warning. But I couldn't let it drop. "Why'd you really stop me?" I pushed. His gaze darkened. "You shouldn't be out here alone this late," he said. It wasn't an answer. Not really. But it was something. I took a step closer, testing the edges of this strange electric tension. "I think you already knew I wasn't a threat." He didn't respond, but his breathing changed. Just slightly. His fingers twitched where they rested near his belt. "I think you stopped me for another reason," I continued, my voice lower now. "But you don't want to admit that, do you?" His jaw clenched. He looked away for just a second, like he needed to collect himself. But then, just as quickly, his eyes snapped back to mine hard, guarded. "You should go home." There was finality in his voice, a line drawn in sand. Chilled me, but I wasn't sure if it was because of the warning, or because deep down I didn't want to leave. I should have gotten in my car and driven off, buried this moment. But I couldn't move. My feet were stuck. My mind still replaying every part of that search. The way his hands had lingered a second too long. The way his fingers had pressed into my thigh like he was trying not to feel what he felt. I should have hated it, but I didn't. Instead, it left a tension in my body I couldn't shake. An unspoken question burning between us. "You don't have to pretend," I said quietly. His eyes flashed, anger maybe, or something more dangerous. "Get in your car." He turned, abruptly walking back to his patrol car. His movements were stiff, tight, like he was wrestling something inside himself. I stood there, heart pounding, watching him go. The way his fists clenched at his sides. The way his back was too straight, like it was holding back a storm. Was he trying to escape me? Or himself? I exhaled shakily and slid into the driver's seat. My hands gripped the wheel as I started the engine. But I didn't pull away, not right away. Instead, I watched him in the rearview mirror. He stood beside his car, facing away, tension coiled in his shoulders. For a moment I hoped he might turn around. But he didn't. I swallowed hard, pressed the gas, and rolled back onto the road. But my mind stayed locked in that moment, spinning it over and over again. His hands, his hesitation, the way he touched me. Not like a cop doing his job, but like a man crossing a line he wasn't supposed to. I didn't know then that this night would turn my life upside down. The drive home was a blur. My hands were tight on the wheel, my knuckles white, adrenaline still pulsing in my veins. I thought the tension would fade once I left him behind. But it didn't. Followed me, wrapped around me like smoke. Every time I blinked, I saw his face, the flicker in his eyes, the restraint in his touch, that moment of weakness he tried to bury. I should forget it, let it go. But I couldn't. When I got home, I tossed my keys on the counter and collapsed onto the couch, dragging a hand through my hair. The room was too quiet, too still, like the whole world had paused, leaving me alone with the weight of what just happened. Why did he stop me? The question gnawed at me. It didn't feel random. It felt personal. I grabbed my phone, scrolling aimlessly, but my thoughts kept drifting back to him. His voice, his eyes, that moment right before he told me to leave. And before I realized what I was doing, my fingers were already searching. It wasn't hard. To find him, Officer Jace Carter. A few social media accounts. Nothing too personal. But it was him. That face. Chiseled jaw, piercing gaze, that same guarded expression even in photos. He looked like someone who lived behind walls. Someone who didn't let people in. I chewed the inside of my cheek, hesitating. This was a bad idea. But then a thought struck me. What if I saw him again? Something told me this wasn't the last time. And I wasn't sure if that terrified me or thrilled me. Reluctance. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I wanted to imagine it. I swallowed hard, gripping the edge of my car door, forcing my trembling fingers to be still. But I could still feel the imprint of his touch, like an echo. A ghost of something neither of us was ready to name. The silence between us was thick, heavy. Finally, I spoke, my voice cutting through it like a crack in glass. That wasn't really a routine search, was it? His jaw tensed. For the first time, his eyes flickered. Not much, just a moment. But I saw it. And then it was gone, replaced by that same unreadable mask. But I knew what I saw. I was doing my job, he said, measured, steady. I tilted my head, searching his face. Your job? I echoed, a trace of disbelief in my voice. Does your job include putting your hands where they don't belong? A pause. He exhaled through his nose, shifting slightly, like the weight of the moment was finally pressing in on him. You're free to go, he said, avoiding the question. His voice had softened, but beneath it, there was something else. Something like a warning, but I couldn't let it go. Why'd you really stop me? I asked. His gaze darkened. You shouldn't be out here alone this late, he said. It wasn't an answer. Not really. But it was something. I stepped closer, just enough to blur the line between confrontation and something else. I think you already knew I wasn't a threat. He didn't speak, but his breathing slowed, and his fingers, subtle as it was, twitched near his belt. I think you stopped me for a different reason, I said quietly. But you don't want to admit that, do you? His jaw clenched hard. He looked away briefly, like he needed a second to gather himself. But then his eyes snapped back to mine, sharp, closed off. You should go home. There was no room left to argue. His voice drew a clear line, and it chilled me, not just because of the warning, but because I didn't want to leave. I should have turned, gotten in my car, and driven away. But I didn't. My body wouldn't move. My mind kept looping through every second of that search. The way his hands lingered, the pressure of his fingers on my thigh, the hesitation. I should have hated it, but I didn't. Instead, it left something behind. A slow-burning tension in my chest. A question we hadn't asked. A line we hadn't crossed. You don't have to pretend, I said gently. His eyes flicked with something, anger, maybe, or something worse. Get in your car. He turned sharply, heading back to his patrol vehicle, every movement stiff and controlled, like he was trying not to fall apart. I watched him go, the way his shoulders were pulled tight, the way his fists clenched at his sides. Was he trying to escape me, or himself? I exhaled and climbed into my seat, my fingers curling around the steering wheel. I started the engine, But I didn't drive away. Not right away. Instead, I stared at him through the rearview mirror. He stood there, his back to me, still, tense. For a second, I thought he might turn around. I wanted him to, but he didn't. I pressed my foot to the gas and pulled back onto the road. But my mind stayed behind, trapped in that moment. His hands, his hesitation, his touch, not like a cop doing his job, but like a man crossing a line he wasn't supposed to. I didn't realize then that this night would change everything. The drive home was a blur. My grip on the wheel was too tight, my knuckles pale, adrenaline still roaring in my veins. I thought once I left him behind, the tension would fade. But it didn't. Followed me, clung to me. Every time I blinked, I saw him. The flicker in his eyes, the restraint in his hands. That second he let himself feel, and then buried it again. I should forget, let it go. But I couldn't. When I finally stepped into my apartment, I tossed my keys down and dropped onto the couch. The room felt too quiet, like the air had thickened, like the world had paused, just long enough for the weight of it all to settle in. Why did he stop me? The question dug its teeth in. It hadn't felt random. Felt like something personal. I grabbed my phone and scrolled, trying to distract myself. But it didn't work. His voice echoed. His eyes lingered. That final look before he walked away. And then, almost without thinking, my fingers were moving, searching. It didn't take long. Officer Jace Carter. Just a few public profiles. Nothing personal. But I recognized him instantly. That same jawline. That same guarded expression. Even in still images, he looked like someone who kept his heart under lock and key. I bit the inside of my cheek, hesitating. This was probably a mistake. But then a new thought surfaced. What if I saw him again? Something told me this wasn't the end. And I didn't know if that scared me, or if it was exactly what I wanted. The heat of his body sank into mine. The kiss deepened, his mouth claiming mine like he'd been starving for this. Just like I had. His hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer, and I let him. I broke away for air, heart pounding, but the space between us felt unbearable. So I closed it, fast. My hands tugging at his shirt, needing to feel more of him. His eyes flicked down, and without a word, he helped me. His fingers moved quickly, pulling his shirt over his head. It hit the ground, forgotten. And before I could even think, my hands were on him, tracing the lines of his chest. The warmth of skin over muscle. His hands weren't still anymore. They found the hem of my shirt, and in one motion, it was gone. The cool night air made me shiver. But his touch? It burned. His lips found the base of my neck, his breath hot, his kiss urgent. And suddenly I wasn't thinking. I was just feeling. My hands roamed his back, fingers pressing into taut muscle. He reacted, his breath stuttering, tension radiating through him. Everything in me was screaming that this shouldn't be happening. But it didn't feel wrong. Felt right. Dangerously, painfully right. His lips moved lower, setting fire to my skin. My breath hitched, my body arching to meet him. Every part of me was alive, too aware, too sensitive, too hungry. He kissed me again, slower now, like he was savoring something he'd never thought he'd taste. I kissed him back with everything I had. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. It felt overwhelming, like we'd both finally stopped running. Like this was what we'd been circling around since the night we first met. I felt his hand move lower, slipping past hesitation, past any pretense. A bold move. My breath caught. My body answered before my mind could. There was no going back now. His touch lit something inside me. Deep, undeniable. I didn't need to justify it. Didn't want to. I just wanted him. All of him. He kissed me harder, deeper. His hands exploring, urgent, greedy, like he was making up for all the time we'd wasted denying this. My head spun, my heart raced. The world blurred. All I could feel was him, his body against mine, his breath, his heat. And then, the rest happened. Not rushed, not careless, but with a kind of quiet desperation. We crossed a line that night, completely willingly. and no matter what came next, we couldn't go back. When I opened my eyes again, the sun was creeping through the curtains. The morning was still. Soft breaths moved against my neck. Jace, still asleep, his arm heavy around my waist. I moved slowly, quietly, slipping out of his hold. Not to run, but to breathe. As I stood by the window, I felt the weight of everything crash down on me. The memory of his touch, his kiss, the way we'd come undone together, clung to me like a second skin. I should have felt shame, but I didn't. Instead, I felt something far more dangerous. Longing. Behind me, I heard the sheets shift. I turned. Jace's eyes blinked open, soft with sleep. But then his expression shifted. Confusion. Then something else. Regret. Or grief. His voice was rough. Did we really? I nodded, throat tight. Yeah, we did. A long silence stretched between us. His gaze didn't leave mine, but I could feel the tension again. Thicker than ever. He finally spoke, slow and careful. So, that makes us. Don't? I whispered, cutting him off before he could finish. I pulled the blanket tighter around myself. I didn't want to hear it. Not yet. He gave a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. What? You don't want to admit we crossed a line? He said. A hint of teasing, but something darker behind it. I laughed, or tried to. Shut up, Jace, I muttered, tossing a pillow at him. He caught it one-handed, that crooked smile returning. You never struck me as the type. He said it casually, but it landed like a blow. I didn't answer, couldn't, because inside me, everything was a mess. The guilt, the need, the echo of what we'd just done still reverberating through me. Then, softer this time, more honest, he said, Promise me you won't leave me alone. The weight of those words dropped heavy between us. I turned to face him, really look at him. What do we do now? He held my gaze, and something in his eyes shifted, like he wasn't running anymore. We'll figure it out, he said quietly. Together. And I knew in that moment we were standing at the edge of something dangerous. Something fragile and real. Whatever this was, it couldn't be undone. So where do we go from here? Do we pretend nothing happened? Or do we face it, own it, even if the world wouldn't understand? I don't have the answer. Not yet. But maybe you do. Tell me, what would you do in our place? Would you walk away? Or take the risk? Let me know in the comments. Because right now, I'm just trying to figure it out myself.